Hello everyone, welcome back to the Python programming series. Today we'll be looking at typecasting in Python. Now, first of all, what is typecasting? Typecasting basically converting one data type into another. And one is this use. Now, Python typecasting is used mostly when you have a certain data type. Suppose you can say a number such as 40.67. Now you don't want the 67 part, so you can convert it into integer. This is right now a floating point or a real number, as we discussed in a previous video about data types, what are floating types, integer, strings, everything. Now if you want to convert a floating type into an integer, then you will use Python typecasting. Then you will get a 40. Now other than that, there are also strings. Suppose something is in a string such as 478. Now this is a string, this is not integer or float. If you try to add this with another variable such as 46, it will give an error because these both are not of the same data type. You should know that only the operators work on the same data types. Now if we go to a Jupyter notebook right now, and if I type such as a string, if I make a string right here, string equal to 40, and I type string equal to string plus 50. Now right now I want the output which is 90, so 50 plus 40 should give me 90. But there is one problem. If I were to print this right now and alt enter, there you can see there is an error. It says can only concatenate string, not integer to string. So we both want them to be the same data type. Either we have 40 in 50 be a string, or we have 40 be an integer. Now there is one problem. If we have 50 be a string, it will print 40 and 50 together. Suppose if I print it like this, now 50 is a string. Now if I were to run it, it will print 4050. Now it is not a number, it cannot be added together. It just takes it apart from concatenator, as we discussed in a previous video of string concatenation. 40 plus 50, if they are both strings, will not give a sum, they will just add together. Now if I want to print 90, I will need to convert the above string into integer. Now to do that, I will need to use a typecasting. To typecast in Python, you just need to type this data type first, okay, and then the variable inside it. As you can see, I have my integer data type and then the variable string inside it. Now if I were to run this, there you go, you have 90 here. This was a small example of how data types can be converted from one type into another, basically typecasting. Now if I were to have a float here, suppose x is equal to 40.67, okay. Now if I were to print it like int x, the output will be 40. It will disregard the decimal part because integers cannot hold decimal part, there are whole numbers. Now if I want to convert a float into a string, suppose I want to store a string in here, then I can just use this string equal to str parenthesis, and I can put the variable inside. Now if I were to print string, it will be a string. Yes, this is of type string. Now this is not a floating point number. To confirm this, we can use the type function. This will tell me what data type this is right now. As you can see it says right now it is str. If you want to check which data type was x, it will say float or real. There you have it, that's float. If you want to another example can be like this. Now suppose if I were to print right now, obviously many of you will know the answer, but I don't want this, I want this sum in integer, so I will need to print make them integer separately. Now there's another problem. Some of you might be thinking, what if I had made them an integer after the addition? Then this whole part will be considered an int. They will not be added together, they will still work like strings, obviously. So to avoid that, we need to avoid separate typecasting. And as you can see now it's 11,000. That's how Python typecasting works, and that will be all for this video.